know it was called in antiquity the place of palms.
It was a city with a lot of activities.
So if there's one, there should be two or four. So good bourgeois dining had already started right at the very beginning of the city in the Augustan period.
It is not an archive, it is a selection of what the Afrodisians wanted to be remembered.
What happens to these people? Why do they lose their wealth? When do they lose their wealth? Do they remain living here, or do they maybe pack their bags and move to Istanbul?
Afrodisias is essentially a Greek city of the Roman period, of the Roman imperial period. It's really a latecomer to the whole business of elaborate, built city life. The city had the enormous good fortune to catch the attention of the future Emperor Augustus and was given the special privileges of tax-free status within the Roman province of Asia and freedom within the province. And these two things enabled it to begin a major urban liftoff in the period of the 30s and 20s BC. The Emperor Augustus sent back to Afrodisias a loyal citizen of Afrodisias, a man called Gaius Julius Zoilos, and the beginning of Afrodisias as the city we know today goes back to this time.
Afrodisias is a typical city of the Roman Empire, with the usual stratigraphy that we find in a medium-sized city. There were people who were rich and there were people who were poor. There were free and there were slaves. Since no ancient literary sources, no authors talk about it, we get information from the inscriptions that we find in certain areas. For instance, the theater. The theater in Afrodisias is a place where we have theatrical performances, so we have information about the actors, about the musicians, even about an acrobat who was dancing on a rope. But we also have information in the theater about other activities that took place when the theater was not used for theatrical performances. For instance, people were selling the products there. There were people who were inscribing texts that indicate their emotions. In Afrodisias, we are in the fortunate situation that because the city was built of marble, the Afrodisians had the possibility to use the walls to inscribe texts. In the 3rd century AD, the Afrodisians decided to select documents that told the history of the city and how they acquired privileges from the Roman Empire, how they managed to remain an independent city, and what is far more important, how they managed not to pay taxes, not to pay tribute to the Roman Empire. For this reason, this is a very important monument for Afrodisian history. It is not an archive, it is a selection of what the Afrodisians wanted to be remembered.
We are here in the urban park of Afrodisias, a very unusual complex built in the early imperial period on the model of big parks in Rome. We know it was called in antiquity the place of palms. It's a great big rectangular plaza with a huge pool running down the middle, 170 meters long, surrounded by colonnades, beautiful artworks, and also palm trees. It's a place for citizens to relax and feel like they are citizens who deserve this kind of urban amenity. Morning, Thomas. How are you doing?
Hi, misafir geldi. Merhaba.
Merhaba. How's it going here?
Not bad. I mean, we are now at a stage where we are missing the slabs here on top.
Yeah.
You see, so Hikmet so far did everything he could.
He's finished everything right up to here.
Yes, he finished
Fantastic.
everything right
That's
up.
really great.
And
That's really great.
from now on, I think we are in a stage where we miss the big slabs.
Yeah.
So he has about, let's say, 20 meter to finish.
Yeah.
And we have about how many work days left?
Yeah, about 10, yeah.
10 work days.
That's plenty.
But maybe you should talk to Hikmet himself.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Hikmet abi, buraya gelebilir misin? Nasıl gidiyor?
Çok iyi. Her zamanki gibi hocam. Yoğun bir şekilde.
Bu çok güzel görünüyor, çok güzel. En zor soru, bu sene bu proje bitirecek mi?
Bilmiyorum hocam. Biraz zor. Zamanımız yok.
Anladım.
Biraz zaman olsa belki tamam diyecektim ama maalesef zamanımız yok.
Evet.
Yapabildiğimiz kadar yapacağız hocam.
Thomas, ne diyorsun?
Evet, işte öyle. Hikmet enerji çok, yardımcı çok. 5-6 kişi var, devam. Bence yapar.
Süper bir ekip, süper.
Her zaman hocam bizim ekip farklı bir ekip.
Süper, süper. Çok teşekkür.
Ben de çok teşekkür ederim.
We're standing in the civil basilica of Afrodisias, a huge covered hall for public administration, legal matters and business. And we chose it as a place for demonstrating all the different aspects of a big archaeological project. The architecture has been studied in great detail and published in a monograph. The major document that comes with this building is a strange edict issued by the Emperor Diocletian, which lists all the prices, the maximum prices of goods and services in the Roman Empire. It's a thing called Diocletian's Edict of Maximum Prices, and it was inscribed on the facade of this basilica. We ran a 5-year project here to do new anastylosis, which you see behind me, these massive columns, and to make a new presentation of the front of the building and of this extraordinary edict. It lists 1,400 items that give you a complete cross-section of the Roman economy. For example, from the price of a lion for the games all the way down to a cloakroom attendant's salary and everything in between. It's a fascinating document and people enjoy coming to read parts of it right here. Political structure of Afrodisias was a meeting of the people and of the council. And these two organs of government, the Demos and the Boule. Demos met in the theatre where the People's Assembly took place, and the council met in a beautiful building called the Bouleuterion, or Council House. And the building of a brand new council house in the later 2nd century was intended to mark the priority of this organ of government. The Bouleuterion is a roofed theatre seating about 1,500, 2,000 people, way over-specified for the number of councillors, which was probably about 200.
So we're here in the North Temenos house, which is one of the largest houses in central Afrodisias, right next to the temple of Aphrodite that you can see there. So this was one of the most important houses constructed. Over here you can see a very large reception room. Last year we've been excavating these side rooms that were service rooms. They were for servants and for the other functions of the house. And what we are now seeing in these houses is the infrastructure of the house, the pipes for supplying water, the drainage systems, all of the infrastructure that enabled these houses to function and for elite lifestyles to take place here. Should we take some levels here?
Yeah, okay.
While they carry on excavating?
Okay.
Okay, Gemini, next point. So here, the picture that we're getting is of a very important house, perhaps owned by the governor of the province, the most important individual in the city in the later phase of Roman life at this site. So we've come down into the house itself now. So we're in the big reception room before you go through to the main audience hall there. And this stone is really important in understanding the history of this house. But its inscription is very interesting. You can see the text here and around this side as well. And this inscription is in Latin, which is the language of Roman government. But nobody in Afrodisias ever spoke Latin. People here spoke Greek. And what it tells us, it's broken, so we can't read it all, but the bit that survives talks about the virtues of a governor who is responsible for dispensing justice. And this strongly suggests that this house belonged to the governor, and that explains why it's right in the city centre next to the Temple of Aphrodite.
We're here in the religious heart of Afrodisias, the famous Temple of Aphrodite, around which Afrodisias formed its political and religious identity. The Aphrodisians are the people of Aphrodite. The temple, built in the early imperial period, was then turned into a huge cathedral round about AD 500, right the way through to 1200, when the church was sacked and burned by a warlord from Alashahir, a man called Theodore Mancaphas. He burnt the temple down, the wooden roof came in, and the insides of the columns were scorched so that the flutes are coming off.
Oh, hi Bert.
Hi, how's it going?
A lot faster than expected, so I guess that's very good. We are making good progress on our trench extension. We've taken already this just today, so we're down 1/2 meter.
So can you just tell me a bit more about what this extraordinary thing is?
Well, the way it is curving at the moment, it's not entirely round. It seems to be a bit more elongated on that side. So I suspect rather than a marble basin, you can see it if you go this way. If you go this way, it's a bit more elongated, definitely marble. So it must be a pitos.
Yeah.
It looks like it has fallen or toppled over from this side.
Yeah, can you see which way it's going? Where's the mouth?
It must be that way.
Yeah.
It can't really be that way. We already have a wall in the back. So it must have been stuck in the corner here somewhere and just toppled over when the building collapsed. And we should be able to get that level before the end of this week as well.
Great.
We have still very little information about the actual people who lived here in the city. In the late 5th century, they still live a life of wealth. They have marble, they have mosaics, they have bronze, they have the gold bracelets. But at some point during the 6th or the 7th century, that completely changes. So we can again research what happens to these people. Why do they lose their wealth? When do they lose their wealth? Do they remain living here, or do they maybe pack their bags and move to Istanbul, to where the emperor is living? All of those questions are something that we're trying to answer with the excavations here.
We're standing here in the Sebasteion, the Temple of the Emperors of Afrodisias, which is one of the most, or perhaps the most extravagant of imperial temple complexes in the whole of Anatolia. It consists of a long 90-meter processional way entered through the gate at the end, with two 3-storied buildings flanking it on each side, with reliefs in the upper 2 stories. This complex was dedicated under the Emperor Tiberius in the early imperial period, and the whole project required some 200 marble reliefs in these big picture walls down this 90-meter avenue. Ben, this is quite a place you've got here.
I bet. Welcome.
Thank you. So where's the best place to come? Should we come over
over
here?
here and have a look.
Okay.
So here we're under the floor levels of the North Temenos house.
Well, I hope these pipes are under the floor.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've stripped off the floor. We've got pipes, 1, 2, 3 sets of pipes, all sorts of nice new material, of which this is the
Wow, what is that?
nicest bit.
Wow, that looks early to me.
It looks early indeed. So it's a cup or potentially a beaker, but more likely a cup, probably of the Augustan period, mould made.
Mould-made bowl in the old Hellenistic tradition, still
Absolutely.
alive and well in the Augustan period.
We don't have much like this at the site at all.
No, this is a rare and precious find.
Absolutely. So this whole area had presumably elite houses, elite occupation of some sort, probably up until the end of the 3rd century AD.
So good bourgeois dining had already started right at the very beginning of the city in the Augustan period.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Great. That's really exciting, Ben. The Afrodisias'ın Stadium is the best preserved stadium in the whole of the ancient world. It has about 26 of its 30 rows complete, and one can feel the extraordinary effect of this austere interior. It was built in the middle or later 1st century AD and is designed to accommodate huge festival crowds. Bushra, how's it going?
Hey, it's great.
What an amazing
Thank you.
piece.
Yes, absolutely.
It's really coming out nicely. Afrodisias gives us many surprises. This new head of Zeus is the best sculpture found at Afrodisias in the last 25 years. It was found by accident during clearing of vegetation for fire prevention. It tries to combine the old image of a classic Zeus with the latest technology of imperial portraits. Yeah, so we can see on the sides here that it's got this background, which shows that it was a head against a background, probably a deep console, and this head is on the end of it, sticking out probably quite high up. So if there's one, there should be 2 or 4. There was 2 chief divinities here, one Aphrodite, of course, the other one was Zeus, as important. So we don't know the exact context, but a thing of this scale and force must be from a big public sanctuary or temple.
Burası Afrodisias Antik Kenti Küçük Buluntu Konservasyon Laboratuvarı. Kazı alanından çıkan bütün buluntular öncelikle buraya geliyor. Ve biz bu buluntuların hepsinin büyük bir titizlikle konservasyonlarını gerçekleştiriyoruz. Bizim amacımız buluntulara minimum müdahale, maksimum koruma sağlamak. Sadece kazı sezonunda çıkan buluntuları değil, aynı zamanda önceki kazı sezonunda da çıkmış olan ve çalıştığımız buluntuların da kontrollerini yapıyoruz. Eğer konservasyona ihtiyacı varsa o buluntuları tekrardan laboratuvara alıp üzerinde çalışıyoruz.
Afrodisias tabii ki arkeolojik bulgularıyla çok önemli, mimari buluntularıyla çok önemli. Ama kazıda çıkan diğer buluntular için de burada birçok uzman çalışıyor. Afrodisias'ın bir diğer özelliği burada prehistorik çağlardan Osmanlı döneminin sonuna kadar sürekli bir kesintisiz seramik üretimi var. Tabii ki toprak içinden bulunduğu için seramikler kirli bir halde araziden geliyor. İlk önce yıkaması yapılıyor. Daha sonra biz onları dönemlerine göre tasnifliyoruz, belli özelliklerine göre ayırıyoruz ve içlerinden sağlam olan parçalar tabii ki restorasyona gidiyor ve son olarak da onların çizimi, belgelemesi yapılıp tamamen değerlendirmesi tamamlanmış oluyor.
We've uncovered the pitos completely now. So we found part of it yesterday, if you remember, sticking out of the profile.
So this is what it is, I see.
Teşekkürler. Yes.
And what's it made of?
It is marble. So we had expected it to be ceramic. Yesterday it looked like it had fallen over, but as you can see, it's standing exactly where it should be standing, in the corner of the room. The pitos we're excavating here is very likely a product of the Roman age. Pardon. It is important because we rarely find objects of this size in what is probably a house. This is a gigantic vessel that would be far too much to supply an ordinary family. To order something like this, to have it made, to have it brought to your house and installed in your building is a gigantic undertaking. The purpose of which must have been very peculiar and specific. But at the moment, we're not quite sure what that purpose would have been. We're a bit too high in our excavation and our stratigraphy to understand. In a couple of days, that will probably become clear. But it's very, very unusual.
Afrodisias has many extraordinary statues, and we're standing now in the Afrodisias Museum in its Sevgi Gönül Hall that contains all 60 to 70 of the Sebasteon reliefs. Behind me is an extraordinary monument, the Afrodisias Blue Horse, as it is called. This is a statue group of Troilos and Achilles, the young Trojan prince who was murdered by Achilles at the fountain outside Troy, where he'd taken his horses. It was a much loved story in this part of the world. The modern excavation of Afrodisias really begins in 1961 with the great Kenan Erim, professor at New York University, and he saw the signatures of Afrodisian sculptors in Italy. The very best sculptors went to work in Rome for the emperors and others, and he asked himself a simple question. If the best sculptors were going to Rome to work, what was the sculpture back in Afrodisias like? And his question was answered in a way 10 times what he could possibly have imagined. Kenan Bey excavated from 1961 right through to his sad early death in 1990. And I took over as director in 91. And after about 10 years of study and publication, we again started new excavation projects. At the end of that period, in 2017, was when we achieved the UNESCO World Heritage status.
you.